James, start with Alice to recognize you're here.
Yeah, my name's Alice Hammers. I'm a member at large because I live in McNeil. However, my partner has an office in Bisbee, and I use Bisbee for life, for my connections. So.
Okay, I'm Bill Crow. I'm in the Warren District.
Tom Patterson, I'm in Ward 1.
Bill McNabb, I'm in Ward 3.
Joseph Linden, Ward 2.
Okay, we'd like to start out with a call to the public. Debbie Crow.
Thank you, y'all. This is just a typed version of what I'm going to say to you, so
Okay.
if y'all want to refer, there's one for everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Debbie Crow, and I live at 205 West Vista Street. And I'm told that there was an attempt to get the homeless people out of Old Bisbee, which has caused a problem. They've come to Vista Park to spend the night. As you all know, there's been an increase in crime in Warren, especially in the Vista Park area. We had a couple that successfully spent the winter snowbirding in their camper on the park. They moved to a new parking spot every couple of nights. We have an obvious tweaker that lives in her car, and she too moves around the Vista. Her behavior's been so severe and bizarre that we've called the police to do wellness checks on her. But when she sees the police vehicle, then she sits down on her blanket until they leave, and then when they pull away, she's up at it again. A homeless man has been observed sleeping at one of the Bisbee bus stop benches. And on July 3rd, some people pulled in a double-axle travel trailer camper across the street in front of our house. I called the police and they came out, but they didn't do anything. After the police left, they pulled out their awning, their fire ring, their lawn chairs, and they set up camp. They stayed there the nights of July 3rd and July 4th. After the parade, they came back and there was nowhere to legally parallel park. So instead of finding a place where they could park, they pulled the front end of their Jeep up over a curb that was about this high, up onto the grass, and they left the back end of their Jeep sticking out in the street. After the fireworks were over and people left, then we had to endure drunkenness, foul language, and loud music. It finally, eventually stopped. I was told that at the last town hall meeting in Warren that the park closes at 10 p.m. I was also told because there are no signs, the police department is unable to do anything about people sleeping or camping overnight in the park. We've had the back window in my husband's pickup truck busted out, although I do believe that was because we had a political sign on our fence. We've actually had to chase people out of our yard late at night. One day I heard a noise. I looked out my dining room window and a girl was on her cell phone walking up and down at the side of our house. Our house is fenced on 3 sides. I beat on the window, and then finally, when I did that, she took off. We've been trying to get a neighborhood watch group together on our street, but we've not been successful in getting the support we need from the police department to make that happen. And I'd like to ask the committee to please put this on your next agenda, to forward a recommendation to the city to 1, place park closing time signs around Vista Park, and 2, to please place signs that say no overnight parking or camping. I've provided my name, my address, and my phone number. If at any time anybody would like to reach me to ask me more about this, I'll be more than happy to engage with you. Thank you for listening to me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We do have Neighborhood Watch on our agenda today. So if specifically that subject we can talk about. And it may be that we find that takes care of it, but other than that, we can't. We'll put it on the next agenda.
Thank you.
Max Schernholz.
Thank you, glad to be here. My name is Max Shanehouse. I live at 204 East Vista. I lived there for 21 years. And I agree with everything that Debbie just said. We do have a certain amount of criminal activity. I don't think it's any more severe than any other place in Bisbee. However, my wife and I were contacted about a year ago to ask if we were interested in helping organize Neighborhood Watch, and we are. But we've had no follow-up over the last year, so we're still interested. We just have not been able to go forward because we haven't had contact. But we would like that. There has been criminal activity in the last few months. We've also had rabid animals, but we were not able to get any kind of activity when we called it in. These are the kind of things that are serious issues as far as I'm concerned, because we're right between Vista Park and Skate Park, and if we call in a rabid animal, for example, we would like to see some activity, at least some kind of action taking place, because we consider that a public threat. But like Debbie said, activities like that are certainly handled better if the neighborhood is more mobilized and there's more people watching, and anything that we can do to help that go forward, we're certainly interested in helping that go forward. So thanks for your attention, and we hope to see some kind of activity coordinated with the police department to help our neighborhood. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, do we have a copy of the minutes from the last meeting? Did you guys get it with our?
Yeah, it's attached.
Actually, the last
Is there any changes, additions, deletions, or alterations?
I'd just like to comment on, so in the minutes, and I think it would maybe be helpful to what we're discussing, I put on the agenda how the training of police and fire meshes with the community, because I think it would be important to know how your training might affect how they handle, because homelessness is really, it's really a difficult problem, and not one that's easy for the police to handle or
Okay,
anything, but.
What is your?
Mike,
So I'm
let me
saying
cut
that
you.
was
We're-
left.
You're off agenda.
Yeah, right, that's what I
Please.
was giving you to say.
Oh, well, it's just because.
Is there a change, or,
Well, I'd like to.
no, this is our last meeting's minutes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're just looking if there's any changes,
one
additions,
approval of the minutes.
Yeah,
deletions,
sure.
okay.
No,
None? Okay.
Except I don't remember all
I'll make a
that.
motion, we approve the minutes as written.
Second?
Okay, motion's been moved, seconded. You want us to do a roll call vote?
Yes, please.
Okay. Alice?
Aye.
Mr. Doyle?
Right.
Aye.
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 Okay, so we have the minutes approved, discussion and possible approval of minutes. That's both meetings are in there, right? Discussion, motion. Okay. Did I give you a copy of my annual report, either one of you? Okay, this is some, we were supposed to get a copy of the last annual report from Dan, but we never received it. And nobody could find a copy of one, so what I did was a narrative of what has gone on over the last couple of years. And most of what's been done has been done since we finally got a quorum in this committee. And so if you take a brief view of the moment and look at it and see if I've covered the things that we've done, and if there's anything you want to add or change, or if I just made something up because I was delirious or something.
So-
And then I've got what your concerns in there,
Yes,
Alice.
yes, it is. Because I need time to digest what's here, you know, I can't just read it and say, it looks
Okay,
good,
that's
it looks good to
understandable.
me.
Are you proposing we table it to the next meeting?
I'm saying, yeah, that if we could have
Make
you
a
know,
motion to table it till the next meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to table it to the next meeting, and then I'd like to make a motion that, to have the next meeting next month, so that we don't have to.
Well, that's a different,
Yeah.
we'll take one issue at a time.
All right.
There's a motion on the floor to table the annual report. Do we have a second? Okay, no second, motion dies. So what, do you want me to read it? You think I should read it out or what?
Yeah.
Pretty short. Okay, this is, for those that aren't familiar with it, I've been on the Police Fire Commission over 2 years. After the first meeting, I think we went almost 6, 8 months without a quorum. So it's a matter of getting out and recruiting good people, which we have gotten. We have a really, what I think is a vibrant committee. We had one person leave, we need to replace them. And I implore anybody in the public that has some time, these committees don't meet that often, but this is a chance for the public to have a direct input into city government. We have the mayor here, we have the chief of police, we have the fire chief. There's very few opportunities you'll get to see those guys and have an opportunity to input. So we have, I think we're gonna have at least one opening. We already have an opening in Ward 3. So if anybody's interested.
2, sir.
Huh?
Ward 2, sir.
Ward 2?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but Ward
Nancy
3, I said.
I'm Ward
Nancy
3.
Jacobson is the
Ward 3.
person that's left, and she, was Nancy not on the committee?
No.
Me and Bill are.
It's not-
There's Joseph and I are in Ward 3.
We've had a Ward 3 vacancy.
Thank you, I stand corrected.
Okay. Well, I'd like to add in the minutes, because I've never heard you say that.
Definitely in the minutes. And broadcast right now.
Okay, this is, I'll just read over them quick. These are the things that we have done over the last year. I put 2017, 2018, because there was never a report before. So we had a presentation by the chief of police detailing the structure, force requirements, current force level, and general police procedures. That was really a complete presentation. We had a presentation by the chief of police and the fire chief detailing the Arizona retirement system and the financial challenges the department faces. A detailed presentation and discussion of the Neighborhood Watch program. Deputy Chief Long described the process of developing Neighborhood Watch, neighborhoods that have been successful, and the process required for a new Neighborhood Watch. And like I said before, Neighborhood Watch is on our agenda today. A study of the record of dog disturbance calls were grouped by address to allow determination of most common complaint addresses. A new animal control officer was being appointed. The chief of police described future procedures to diminish dog complaints. Now, is the animal control officer here today?
No.
Okay. A discussion of police involvement in the community and the attitudes of the citizenry towards their encounters with police. We determined we would participate in a public survey in conjunction with other boards, committees, and commissions. No further action has been taken on this matter today. A discussion of public dumping of trash and furniture that is impeding traffic and posing a public nuisance. The sale of illegal drugs in Brewery Gulch and the historic difficulties the police have had in policing the area. A discussion of attrition in police and fire departments and a comparison of pay levels to other municipalities. And a complaint by residents concerning speeding on West Boulevard. The complaint was investigated and determined to be unverifiable. And we discussed a number of discussions of the actual purpose and goals of the Police and Fire Advisory Committee. So, does that sound like I kind of got everything?
Yes.
Okay. And my wife said I didn't make any grammatical errors, so. Anybody want to make a motion to accept?
I move that we approve the police and fire report for fiscal year 17-18 and 18-19, the annual report to the council.
Second.
Okay. Roll call. Alice?
Aye.
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 Okay, unanimously approved. Thank you. Let's get this. I really didn't want to have to do it again. Okay, the next agenda item is a discussion of neighborhood watch. Deputy Chief Long, is he still in charge of that, Chief?
He is.
Okay. With, the police are at present prepared to start a new neighborhood watch if somebody wants one, is that correct?
We have been directed to do so in certain areas. We are, I have severe concerns over the success of those programs because we're in a position right now, we're still extremely shorthanded. There are only 10 of us right now. We have 2 officers in field training, so they don't count till they're off field training. That leaves 10 of us, including myself and Deputy Chief Long. Means 8 officers on the street, and that's all we have. And so we have a newly promoted sergeant, Carlos Moreno. He took Sergeant Bill Silva's place when he retired, and he's brand new to the position. So trying to tutor him and cultivate him into his role as sergeant, that takes on some additional responsibilities. And I'll be honest with you, Joey is, his plate is full, his plate is overflowing. Setting up a neighborhood watch, there's more entailed with it than just going to a meeting once a month. There's a lot involved with that. It's been suggested recently that using a volunteer to facilitate that on behalf of the police department, and we're in the process of discussing that as we speak. The question and the challenges that will come up, for example, in the Warren area for a neighborhood watch, are going to be setting the boundaries. If you recall, Joey, when he gave his presentation, neighborhood watch, generally speaking, is about right at 100 homes. So there's a lot of areas in Warren that want neighborhood watch. That's going to entail more than one neighborhood watch, or even 2 for that matter, in that area. It's just too large of an area. So that we have some challenges ahead of us in dealing with that. And whether or not it works with a volunteer or multiple volunteers, we're still looking for volunteers, as I mentioned that. We have 2 regular volunteers who come to the station on a regular basis. One's a retired sheriff's deputy out of Pima County, and another one's a retired DOC officer.
One of them's the radio operator.
That's Ev. He's I call him my volunteer, but in reality,
Okay.
he's I think it's safer to say he's a public safety volunteer because he handles both police and fire. But he's not. He's there for his specialty.
Specific responsibility.
Yeah. Bob and Fritz are there more as a support, if you will. And we're always looking for more of those individuals who are willing to come forward.
Okay, well, I'm sure that part of the preliminary process of putting together a neighborhood watch is the neighborhood presenting the area and the reasons they want to have the watch to the police department. Are there some preliminary things that the neighborhood themselves can do to get organized before a volunteer or police officer goes out there to kind of do the finishing touches? Because if they're motivated and there's a problem that they commonly or have a problem with, then I think that we could get it started, even though we presently don't have a police officer or a volunteer that could assist with them.
So I will say, historically speaking, the neighborhoods that have presented the request for that, all the neighborhoods have been pretty much already set up. Don Louie wanted a neighborhood watch. They were right about that size. Briggs, neighborhood watch in Briggs, again, it was very easy to determine those limits and where the boundaries are for that neighborhood watch. Mountain View, same thing. It was a small neighborhood, like I said, right around 100 homes, and it was easy to set that up. Saginaw, same thing. Saginaw's a little bit bigger, as well as Bakerville is a little bit bigger as far as the homes there, but there's so many there that are vacant, we can stretch that out a little bit. Warren in general, because we've had that expressed to us from the terraces all the way across to Hazard Street, the Vista, obviously, and numerous places in there. There's everybody in that area wants a neighborhood watch. We just don't have the resources to set up 4 or 5 different neighborhood watches all in that area right now.
Yeah, we gotta identify them first. So, I mean, if you have specific requirements for the size or demographics of an area, take a look at the map and show us where we could potentially form and be able to manage in the future neighborhood watches.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, as mayor, with different committees try to put tasks forward for them to accomplish. And we haven't really done it with your committee because it's pretty dynamic and things, change as they come up. But I would like to suggest that perhaps your committee take this on as a project, and that your committee identifies some areas that want the neighborhood watch, and that you then organize this so that the police then are coming, they're not spending the time organizing and passing flyers out
That's what I
to the
was
houses
suggesting.
and so forth, that it's a ready-made
Yeah.
deal for them to come. And even considering you have several members that have police, law enforcement backgrounds on your committee, that they might want to also contact the chief and say, hey, we'd be willing to take a few classes and assist with this neighborhood
Well,
watch.
Deputy Chief Long gave a really nice presentation. I mean, it's too bad there's too much in his plate because it's obvious he was really committed.
Well, yeah, and see, he's doing that on his own time.
Yeah, I understood.
And there's just so much of that that we can ask him because of the overtime that he's got to put in.
No, I'm just talking about the fact that we have a
Yes,
pretty
sir.
good knowledge of what neighborhood watch is and how it's organized and how it works, so.
Right, well, there is some specific training, and I'll discuss with the chief some more about some of that, but you might think about the Warren area and think about the vistas being a natural area, and as a separate area, the terraces as an example, and as a separate area east of Arizona as an example, and up into the trails and so forth, to make it, kind of identifiable and easier. But I know the city, and I know the police department, but I know the city wants to assist on this. It just becomes difficult to do that. And I know, believe me, I get tired of being the one that says manpower and money. So I know you get tired of hearing it, but I'm the guy that gets tired of having to say, we're strapped for manpower and we're strapped for money. And so that's the beauty of these citizen committees, is coming together, and other, not you, but other groups contact the chief and contact Deputy Chief Long and say, we want a group, organize this and do it. And they start from ground zero, try to say, okay, who's interested, and what day's best for you, and all this sort of stuff. If you all can take that on and do that yourself, and then call the chief and our Deputy Chief Long and say, Tuesdays are best for this group, and we have 37 homes that are right now want to go on this, and when can we get together, and how can we train volunteers or whatever.
I mean,
Well, this group, the Vista, East and West Vista, is a pretty obvious
You bet.
area, and over, I've been in town 32 years, and off and on, there's always been trouble with people using the park and being noisy at night and stuff. So it seems to me that would be a good first natural group to go with. And maybe we could, as a committee, maybe we could put some notifications in the paper telling people if they haven't want a neighborhood watch in certain areas, to define their area and come to this meeting. And maybe we'll have to have meetings more often, but to come to this meeting, and then we can start out with the Vista group, and one or two of us will take it on as a volunteer thing and work with the chief and see if we can get that going. And then this is kind of an obvious place for people from the citizens to come and ask for that kind of thing.
If I might interject just briefly here, I agree with what you're saying. Part of the problem is we've identified volunteers and nothing has happened. Well, we've talked to Deputy Long, great guy, he knows his stuff, but, you know,
Well, I think,
he is
Bill,
overwhelmed.
I think what he's saying is that we need to step up and, for example, you have law enforcement
Sure.
experience and you
Yeah.
live on the Vista.
Yes.
So you'd be a natural one to start organizing.
And we'd be glad to do that, if we get the green light to do that. You know, we don't want to be vigilantes out there running around taking care of our own policing,
Right.
which is why we want to get the police involved.
And that's why I was talking, sir, about not just doing it, but some training, some actual classes.
Well,
And-
what
and
get-
we-
what
Which
get-
which helps the city's liability
The whole
and
committee can train.
insurance.
Who's going to train us?
See, that's where the challenge poses itself, because, well, we have to find something, first of all, because Joey's not trained. Joey took this on himself. He took a lot of black eyes over the years as a patrolman, and he was a punching bag for the city at the already established neighborhood watches. And he did his own research, and he found several neighborhood watches across the country. And he pulled pieces from different ones and made his own program, if you will. Made this his program. And Neighborhood Watch as a whole, as he told you guys, it's not a vigilante group. It's not about citizens on patrol. The biggest part about it is networking and getting to know your neighbors, knowing, looking out for your neighbors, and also being an extra set of eyes and ears for the police department, because, as you know, 2 officers on the street can't be everywhere at once.
So, are you saying that he doesn't have the training to be a trainer?
He doesn't have formal training.
He doesn't have any formal training
Let
for
me,
Neighborhood Watch.
yeah, let me,
The program he has, and this is coming from him, he self-developed
Yes.
based on his own research.
And so the other thing is, it's great that we have volunteers right now to take this on and to do that for this group. But as we advertise this more and more neighborhoods want this, if we can't identify other volunteers to take on these other neighborhoods, we can't support those other groups. And that's where this becomes a challenge. We don't have the manpower, and what you have to understand is, again, out of the 8 patrolmen that are out there working right now, 6 of them have less than 2 years' experience. And 2 of them right now are looking to go to other agencies. They're in the background phase for other agencies right now. So as soon as the 2 guys come off FTO, they're gonna be backfilling the last 2 that just left. And we're always chasing those numbers. And we have to do something about the retention to keep some people here and to keep them here long enough so that we can start making a difference. Because as it is right now, we're always chasing our tail. And it gets frustrating for those that stay behind, because then the workload doubles for them. And we have to look, and it's not just for police, fire's in the exact same boat I'm in. We have to, public safety wide, we have to look at this and fix that.
So Mayor, how do we accomplish this?
I will,
Will you look into it?
I
for us?
will look specifically with my old department for neighborhood watch training.
I think you got probably, most if not all the members of the committee would take that training.
We've already got volunteers, we just need
Okay.
to jumpstart.
Let me, I will take that on.
Okay.
I will report back to the chief and to your committee about bona fide neighborhood watch training. And several officers can go to it, and citizens can go to it, and everybody comes out that way.
I'm sure Laura will put a thing in the paper.
Sure.
So,
But I have it written here, and
Okay.
I will do that.
that's an official pad you have there?
Yeah. Yeah, it self-destructs.
We wouldn't want a Vista Vigilante, so.
Is city liability the primary issue that
With training,
with the whole thing?
well, part, because we have to make sure that the training is structured so that if somebody does something silly, they don't say, that's what the city told me to do.
We had a neighborhood watch in my last community in the Phoenix area, and it was sponsored by Joe Arpaio, so he doesn't have a job right now. Maybe he could help us out.
Yeah. Everybody has to wear pink underwear.
Yeah, with a mask, you can get the pink vigilante,
I had his picture in my window that said neighborhood watch.
Well, we need to move this along. I mean, neighborhood watch seems to be on every agenda. And since we first threw it out there, it's brought back a lot of feedback. And it's, to me, it's frustrating that we got a group that has a need we can't do anything about. Are any of you against meeting in another month?
I am.
What are you doing?
No, let me just say that, please just, I'm doing my manpower money.
Okay.
Please remember that when you do meet, you're a quarterly group typically, unless there's something really hot, no pun intended. But when you do meet, she's on overtime, these guys are on overtime, and that's costing the city money. I'm not on overtime, or neither is Joni. Just, there's city resources that are being used every time you guys.
Well, why don't you communicate to us when you feel you have someone that can conduct a training?
I will.
In the mean,
See, there's nothing wrong, Tom. There's nothing wrong with us communicating to all of you.
Sure.
It's just you guys communicating among yourselves.
No, I understand.
So
And it wouldn't make any sense to have a meeting if we're gonna have the same discussion either.
Right.
And so we would appreciate it, Mayor, if you would get us someone that, or give us where we go to find training.
I will get you an answer soon.
And, you can fly the committee to Florida and we'll meet with,
Sure. In my private jet. We'll go to
no, it wouldn't make sense to have a meeting on this until we have the information we
One
need.
of the problems I see with this committee is that for years, nobody wanted to participate.
That's
And
correct.
now people here want to participate, and it's kind of like, it's pretty difficult to do anything constructive, especially when you meet quarterly, and there's so many rules, and,
Well, this
so
is-
it makes it difficult.
This is really an as needed.
I'm not indicating you can't. I'm just indicating, just remember the ramifications that go with it. There's a couple
Sure.
committees that would like to meet every week, believe me, and we're just going. No.
Well, we're in as needed,
Yes.
and so, but there is no reason to meet on this topic until we have the information we need. And we can organize the training outside of the meeting,
Absolutely.
as long as no more than two of us have lunch with you or something like that, so.
300. Well, there's, yeah, 2 with 5 of you. Yeah.
3 people under federal law is a conspiracy, so I wouldn't want to get you in.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so, let's just make sure we put neighborhood watch on our next agenda, but the members be prepared that we could call a special meeting if need be.
Always.
But you have all our contact information?
I do.
Okay,
She does, that's more important. And I have her contact information.
But you can get a hold of us anytime.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're all pretty easy to get
Oh,
ahold
yeah.
of.
I've got it.
So I'll talk to the paper about just giving people a number to call for feedback. I think I've got your personal cell.
Everybody else
Um,
does.
And
I
just
don't
see what we
forget.
can get, and then I think probably most of the members of the committee would want to be trained.
I'll have to ask them.
Okay, so we're gonna put neighborhood watch on the next agenda, whenever that is.
Can we, is it possible to ask the people that brought Neighborhood Watch up as public, call to the public about their feedback for what we're talking about? Is that okay?
No.
No,
No? Okay.
there's no feedback. I mean,
No,
other than the fact
no,
that
we
we
don't
have,
know it's on the
actually
agenda.
want to
yeah, it's
hear
on the
from
agenda,
them.
but
I do, but.
we would have to put them on the agenda.
Okay, so the answer is no.
No,
So,
no,
They're sitting right here listening.
They know-
I
they know
know,
what's
but it
going on.
would be, for me, these folks brought this issue up, and I would like to know.
We'll talk
you
to them,
can't,
talk to them
Alice,
afterwards.
we're talking, you can't do that.
I know,
Then don't do
there's
it.
no way to have a discussion in democracy. I love it.
No,
I love
because
the
the
demo.
public has the
I
right to
know,
know.
I know, I
Okay.
know.
Then- and we're-
I know, I'm all.
They are on our contact list. I am sure that informally after the
I
meeting,
know.
we
I
can
am
talk with
very
them and
frustrated.
they will be, well, we're all frustrated.
I,
But we
agree
can,
with you.
we can take care of this and not go against the open meeting law at the same time. They're here. Talk to them after the meeting.
I would just talk to them.
I'm sure that they're more than happy to be called. Okay, discussion of noise complaints, was that anybody in
do you
particular?
think that's similar?
Or is it just Alice at the end of the table?
Yes, I'm sorry, but it's
No, Alice,
really-
we understand, it's just that it is frustrating because
I
at
know,
times,
but we can do things, we're humans, we're big people. We can do things a little differently without losing control. And we could. it
Please stay on
seems
top.
to
no,
me-
Kathy, Alice,
I know.
we
I'm
have to
done.
abide by
I'm
the
done.
open meeting.
I'm done.
And what they will do is you will be fined individually.
Find me, find me.
The city, on an open meeting law violation, the city is fined and you are fined. And I would appreciate not exposing the city to a fine or
I'm
to an
not
open
trying to
meeting law
break the
violation.
open
No, they're here-
meeting law.
they're
And I appreciate, let's stop the discussion.
They're here.
And go back to the agenda, and then we'll all be happy.
Discussion of noise complaints. Is there anybody in particular that had noise
I just
problems?
think it's in.
We had the dog bark.
Yeah, well, I think it is basically a follow-up to the
Yeah.
previous discussion about noise complaints. I can tell you from my ward that things have improved greatly. And it seems to have been attached to the hiring of our new animal control officer.
That's
So
great to hear.
that's the statement I'll make about that. I
Okay.
don't know about everybody else.
Well, the chief gave us a really good breakdown. And when it was taken down to its base, there was 2 or 3 places that were most of the complaints. And so, that's good to hear that it's been. Okay, discussion of the illegal dumping. Who brought that up last time? Okay, well, there,
Actually, I think that was,
Philip brought it up.
what's the,
Philip?
Philip, I think
Philip brought.
yeah, he said there was
Cement and stuff.
furniture and stuff being dumped and,
Yeah, there was a complaint about illegal dumping, including cement. I don't have any more information other than that.
okay.
But
That
it
was Philip's
Philip.
issue.
It was Philip.
Let's move that off to the next agenda. Okay, I was the one that asked to put on this discussion of feral cats. I do not think,
Okay, here's where I am going to interrupt. Please let me talk. I'm raising my hand.
Yeah, but you interrupted me, Alice, okay? If you wanna talk,
But you
I can identify.
interrupted my agenda item, because if you look on the last,
the minutes,
minutes, I had asked, and it's on the, for this agenda, not feral cats is not on this agenda.
yes it is.
Police, yes, now, but from last time, I put on, and it's here on the minutes.
Okay.
How are police and fire, how is their training, how is your training fit with the Bisbee community? That is, as you can see, is here, not feral cats. Feral cats is new and should come on my understanding, after.
No, anybody can put any item on the
It's on
agenda
I
up
put
to
it
20, okay.
I need to talk, I'm sorry, Alice, you think I'm picking on you. Procedurally, it doesn't matter, whoever made the agenda did not put what you asked for to be put on there. It cannot be discussed this meeting. You can specifically.
You know what, you guys, I cannot do this. You will, I'm at large anyhow. You need someone from Bisbee in any
We can
event.
put this on the next
Because in
agenda.
fact, I can't work this way. I really can't. You know, this happened to me before. You need another guy or somebody, because I lose my temper, I lose my voice, and
Alice,
I
there's
don't
been
live
none
in
of us that have
Bisbee,
asked
and
you
I would
to
like,
resign.
and I would like to. I really need to.
Well, that's-
Because I lose my temper, I'm interrupting the meeting, I don't want to interrupt your meeting, and you can, and it's better to have somebody who's living in Bisbee with a, you know, seeing the police in any event. Yes, I think I'm an intelligent and different voice, and why bother?
In
You
2
know,
years,
It's not happening. It's
Alice,
not.
in 2 years,
Folks,
this
I resign.
This is not on the agenda.
okay. So just call the
Alice,
city clerk's office.
Should you wish to follow through with
I
that?
have put things on the agenda, they are never on the agenda, so I
We're done-
think
we're
it's
done talking
silly
about
That's it.
for me to
Okay.
be here.
If you can sit and I'll call on you, if you have discussion.
And put it on the agenda for next time.
It
No,
can be put on the agenda, but
no,
don't-
I'm
then
not.
either sit and be quiet or leave.
I've resigned. I'm
Okay,
out.
then go
I'm
sit in the
out.
audience.
And it's good.
Okay, I'm sorry,
That's
because
because
we've
can-
enjoyed having you on the committee for the last 2 years.
It's been a frustration.
Every committee is a frustration. And I've been on many, and
No,
it's
it's
a
good.
miracle
You'll get a
sometimes
Bisbee person.
that people don't actually go into fisticuffs. So we have an at-large opening, and that means anybody in the Bisbee area can volunteer for that position, including anybody that might be in the room at present. So I can't talk about it anymore because it's not on the agenda. Feral cats, chief, I mean, the Brophy cat guy is not unknown, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I had the next door neighbor come to me, her backyard has become a virtual litter box.
I'm intimately involved in this
Well,
whole discussion.
can I bring you up to date with what I was told? I want to take a few minutes.
Sure, of course you can.
The next door neighbor has gotten with animal control, they give her a trap. Every day she catches a cat. Every day they take it in, they heal it, neuter it, spay it, and put it back on the street. We're constantly finding sick cats or other cats in our yards as far away as Hurley and Evans. But her situation has gotten to the point where she can have 6 and 8 cats in her backyard. And he has now plywooded his fence and covered his back porch with blue plastic. But and now That's all I've got that's new, Mayor, and I know that you're intimately,
And, yeah, unfortunately, much of that's not new, it's ongoing.
yeah, well, it needs to
It
stop.
happens, it happens all the time. The situation is, the feral cat situation throughout the United States is incredible. And we just so happen to have probably five real good colonies here. We passed an ordinance that I actually started on before I was mayor, that when I was on the board of the shelter, of the Friends of the Animal Shelter. And when we cut right down to everything, the cat situation on Brophy is the worst. I have attempted to get outside agencies to assist us with this any way they can. I believe that it's a health hazard. I call the health department in, they agree that it's a health hazard. But what do? They have to cite the property owner. So the person you're talking about, Tom, is the person that would receive the citation for having a yard that's full of feces and cat urine and is a quagmire of germs. Because,
So let me get this back, so somebody shoots a person in my next door neighbor's yard, and they fall into my yard, it's my problem?
no, that's not.
But that's, these are
No,
cats.
Tom, we're talking, you and I can argue about this, but that's of no use. I'm telling you what the health department regulations, it belongs to the house. Because the health department, you can't say, that's our biggest problem. A feral cat belongs to nobody. But people want these feral cats running around. So they're picked up, they're spayed, they're neutered, they're shot, by shot I'm talking about rabies, and their ear is clipped, okay? Which shows that they're a feral cat. Should they be seen again, they don't have to be spayed again. Obviously they couldn't be, but you don't go through all that, and you know that they have a rabies vaccination. The lifespan of a feral cat is 2 years, typically. They get eaten by owls, coyotes, and bobcats. And yet we have a population that wants to continually spend thousands of dollars of donated money to fix these cats and turn them back out, saying that they will not reproduce. And so eventually they'll take care of themselves. The fact is that we can't catch them fast enough. And we have these people that are harboring them, such as this one individual, which he's been cited for several things. And there's a court date still coming up on the, I don't remember the last one. It's not disorderly, but it's a city code. It was a city code violation.
I don't remember.
Has anybody been inside that house?
Well, no, how, for what? See,
Well,
I know I sound like a mark.
I know, but what if the next door neighbor made a complaint on animal abuse?
Animal abuse, if there is enough evidence to get a search warrant, then yes. But
Okay.
just saying, I think there's animals being abused there. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I see
These
what you're
guys-
saying, but
these
we
guys-
all know that the great deal of those cats comes from this one house.
Well, we know that these cats are ill without a shadow of a doubt. So there's one surefire method of taking care of this. And nobody wants to, no pun intended, pull the trigger.
What is it?
Pull the trigger.
Okay.
Extermination.
Make cat hunting,
We wouldn't, there are USDA, there's people that would take care of this. See, these cats are a huge rabies issue. They're up there on Brophy with skunks that are rabid, with foxes, with all of these animals, and they will bring it home. And so if we're really in a quandary that we can't do the right thing. I read on Facebook today, just, you know, several more of these, the same group, saying, we go to the city and they can't, they won't do anything about it. And I'm saying, well, I've had meeting after meeting with them. What more do you want? We have a solution for you. You don't want that solution. It's a drastic solution, but you don't want it. That's the only solution that we can come up with.
You know, even if we implemented that solution, and you got a house that's a cat factory, they're gonna continue to put cats on the street. And I can't believe that this guy hadn't holed up in there without being in there with, I got a feeling he's got more than a little kitty that they all come from his house.
He at least feeds, I guess.
Okay, he feeds and breeds.
That's all, well, all he says that those aren't his cats, that he has, I think, 3 cats.
Well, then, didn't he file a complaint with the city about one of his cats being spayed by the animal rescue?
Well, sure.
So if they're not his cats,
Well, Tom, you're arguing with me.
I understand,
And I'm
but
telling you, we've been to the county attorney, we've been to the health department, we've been to USDA, Board of Supervisors, absolutely. I got them involved in this. We're doing everything that we can on this issue. Our hands are tied because it's cats. Dogs, we regulate. Cats, we don't regulate, unfortunately. Sir?
I'm just wondering if it's beyond the purview of this committee. This almost sounds like it's something that we need to talk to our council members about. I mean, maybe a city ordinance about feeding stray animals.
Well, we have a city ordinance about feeding wild animals. Okay?
Maybe updating it to.
And there's that loophole of how all of a sudden that feral cat's not a wild animal, that's my pet.
But I think that might be the easiest way to go about it, because if they can change that, the city council, then once it starts hitting somebody in their pocketbook, my neighbor's the same way.
If the city council decides that they're gonna take the option of eliminating them by euthanizing them, there's gonna be hell to pay. I mean, people are real serious about pets, you know, they feel more about euthanizing people, but they care less about euthanizing some people than they would
they
pets.
consider our animal rescue center a non-euthanasia center, and if we had an outside agency come in, I'm sure there would be an outcry.
Yeah, but I mean, if we could get the council to do something on it where you're fining people for feeding these animals, changing the language in it, you hit them in their pocketbooks, people are gonna stop.
Yes, sir. I will tell you that I have proposed several things, and the group that we meet with that is the loudest about this issue are the ones who are saying, no, we don't want that. And I'm saying that we talked about how many cats you can have. I've talked about microchipping the cats, so that when we pick up this cat and you tell me that's my cat, then now it's microchipped. And if I pick up that cat again, I know that's your cat, and I'm charging you $50 to come get that cat, or we get rid of it. But people are, for some reason, they want it, quite bluntly, they want it both ways.
Well, if the cats are running and there's rabid fox and rabid skunks, and they're all intermixing in an area, that's a health hazard. And the USDA has, Al Tomlin said he could get rid of all of them.
Spook, that's the man.
Yeah, that's what he does.
That's what he does. Yes, sir. And that's exactly who we would call to take care of the problem.
But is it better a citizen call?
I don't think
I don't think he'd come if just a citizen call. I mean, that's gotta be something coming from,
But to get cover, you could say rabid fox, rabid skunks, and feral cats that are getting rabid. And so now, I think that puts the whole thing in a different perspective for a lot of people.
so. Right. We had a fox up in that area last year,
and a skunk as well.
and a skunk, both, yes, sir.
Yes.
Up in that area that were rabid last year. And we luckily got through.
Were there any of the cats, any rabid cats that we found?
So is it safe to say the subject is kind of at a standstill? Because you tried to do a number of things and you don't know where to go from
Well, I
there?
think that, first of all, the subject is something that, with all due respect, your committee can't solve. And that your committee should know that the city is not looking the other way on it. This is something that's in my, I know personally, in my face almost every day, and I know the chief gets calls on it because of the ACO's involvement in it every day. And the ACO's she's doing a great job. She's up there, but there's also some really issues involving the law and requirements for search warrants and things like this. We've talked about building inspectors going in and making a check too. So things are still being looked at, but the right data has to be provided at the right time to move on it.
Maybe the only thing this committee can do is for the people in our wards, encourage them to go to the council meetings and be the other voice.
Sure.
And if the people who are showing up are the ones that are willing to let these cats out in the
Well,
ball.
I agree. I think the people on this committee you're talking about are probably all animal rights activists. And I don't know that the whole community is that way, but, yeah, that's,
You know,
it's not something we can do through you or through the chief. I don't know.
well, I'll make a motion that we just permanently table this item because it's not something we can work with unless it comes back to us from some other source. We can look at it again, but if we table it now, get
You
it off
can't,
our-
yeah, procedurally, you can't permanently
You
table.
can do it to the next meeting,
You
and
can,
we
you
can
can
table
actually,
it again.
right, you can actually just
Yeah, so.
do nothing about it, sir, and just have an agreement on yourselves that it's not gonna be an agenda item.
Yeah, right.
And we can
It's
put
just
it
a
on
discussion point on the agenda.
Sure.
Just strike it from any future discussion.
Works for me.
Yeah.
And if at some date it becomes relevant to us, we can probably
We can bring it back.
Yeah, I don't want it to look like I'm asking you to forget any, I'm just saying it's being looked at, and with respect, I don't think there's anything you can do at this point to help with that.
No, that's a good way to hear me.
Okay. All right, is there anybody that has anything they want to put on a future agenda?
Neighborhood watch should remain, I think you
Yeah.
already mentioned that. The issue that Mrs. Crowe brought up as far as signs around the Vista, I think we should add that to the next agenda for maybe signs that indicate when the park closes.
Okay. kinda like
Some of the
what
other parks have that.
Yeah.
As well as no camping allowed, no overnight camping.
Okay.
It's in the city code,
But for us to take.
So we're talking about putting signs
I
out.
know.
We're talking to put
Yeah.
this one on the next agenda.
So I'd like to see
And if
those.
the signs happen to go up between now and the next meeting, we just won't. But we've tried very hard not to just get this committee to function, but to let the public know that we're a place they can come. And maybe we can't do anything about it, but then we would expect you to let us know who can. And-
I agree.
And so, I don't want people to think there's anything they can't bring to us. We can tell them if it's relevant or not, and the call to the public, we can't respond anyway, so. But I'd rather have people in here. I really appreciate these people that came in today.
Absolutely.
And, it's been a good discussion. Do you have a court date on this guy?
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay, because we could
I
send
don't-
it back with signs. You know, you paint white stripes in the middle of those black cats, and then you take them as skunks, so. That's not, don't put that in the minutes.
Oh, it's already in the minutes.
Well, you
The
know,
camera's running.
yeah, that's fine, you know, I think,
I do want to just say one thing, if I might, real quick, about the signs issue. What we're gonna do is, we will carry that forward to Public Works Parks Department, because that's really not a function of the police department.
Well,
That is-
and the only reason I asked is because, maybe I'm wrong, but I was told in order to enforce that, there has to be a public notice that you can't camp there, or that it's closed at a certain time. And if there's nothing publicly available that says that, then people can argue that. To me, it was more of a policing function to support them.
I totally understand your, yeah,
But you're right, I think,
yeah, well, we'll see about parks.
Okay. And remember that any of the members of the committee can place an item on the agenda up to, when do you post? 24 hours in advance? So up till 24 hours prior to the next meeting, if you come up with something other than feral cats, it'll be placed on the agenda.
do we know what the date is?
Well, we can pick, you guys want to pick a date now? Or?
It's already been
It's already
selected.
been.
Oh, it's already been? What is it?
November 26th.
That's my anniversary.
What, happy anniversary?
Or do you want to have it on a different date?
No.
I mean, you know.
I'm sure Mrs. Crowe will just love that date.
You'll
We'll
remember.
bring some to-go meals and a bagel.
Yeah, we'll bring you a cake. And we can have,
26th. That's funny.
Do remember, should something come up between now and then,
yeah.
you can, and I will get you this information, so.
All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Damn, that's really loud.
Sure glad the mayor doesn't do that.
I heard you like throw Thor's hammer at people and it comes back to you.
Well, that was